My name is Noah, and I've been a park ranger in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park for 3 years. 3 years of breathtaking sunrises, crisp mountain air, and the comforting silence of the ancient forest. 3 years of learning the rhythms of the wilderness, the subtle nuances of the ecosystem, the whispers of the wind through the trees. 3 years that were shattered in a single, terrifying night. I grew up in a small town nestled at the edge of the park, surrounded by the legends and lore of these ancient mountains. Stories of hidden creatures, shadowy beings, and unexplained phenomena were as familiar to me as the scent of pine needles and damp earth. I always dismissed them as folklore, as childhood tales designed to keep youngsters from straying too far from home. But that night, those stories took on a chilling new reality. The call came late, a frantic voice crackling over the radio, reporting a series of strange occurrences near Klingman's Dome, the highest point in the park. A group of hikers had witnessed something unusual, something they couldn't explain, something that filled them with a primal fear that resonated even through the static of the radio. Their descriptions were vague, unsettling. A fleeting glimpse of something large, something moving with unnatural speed and grace, something that left them feeling watched, hunted. The drive to Klingman's Dome was treacherous, the winding mountain road slick with rain. The storm, a relentless assault of wind and rain, mirrored the growing unease that settled over me. The usually familiar mountain roads became increasingly terrifying, twisting and turning with an almost malevolent intent. The night itself felt hostile, antagonistic. Arriving at the hikers' last known location, I found their campsite deserted, their equipment scattered, and a lingering sense of dread that chilled me to the bone. There were no signs of a struggle, no obvious signs of danger, only an unsettling stillness, an oppressive silence that amplified the storm's fury. The forest felt different, ancient, and menacing. I began searching, using my flashlight to cut through the dense fog and driving rain. The familiar forest trails had become disorienting, twisting and turning in ways they shouldn't. The trail signs obliterated, the trees bending unnaturally in the wind. The air itself felt charged with an unseen energy. The shadows seemed to writhe and shift. I felt like I was being observed, hunted. My gut screamed that something was terribly, terribly wrong. The Great Smoky Mountains National Park is a place of immense beauty and hidden dangers. Its ancient forests, shrouded in mist and mystery, have captivated and terrified people for centuries. The park itself is a character in this story, a vast and unforgiving wilderness that holds secrets within its depths. The towering trees, normally majestic, now seem menacing, their branches like skeletal arms reaching out from the fog. The air itself felt heavy, charged with an unnatural energy. The hikers, whose frantic call had initiated my descent into the heart of the darkness, were a group of experienced wilderness enthusiasts, not prone to panic or exaggeration. Their terror, relayed through the crackling radio, had been palpable, filled with a primal fear that resonated even through the static. Their descriptions, though vague, pointed to something beyond their comprehension, something that defied explanation. I had a partner for this mission, Deputy Sheriff Margaret Maggie Riley. Maggie, a veteran officer with a deep understanding of the local legends and lore, was skeptical yet apprehensive. She'd always treated the cryptid stories with a healthy dose of skepticism, but the events of that night seemed to defy rational explanation. Her years of experience allowed her to approach the situation with a blend of professional caution and deep concern. Maggie, unlike me, was intimately familiar with the darker side of the Smoky Mountains. She knew the local legends, tales of shadowy creatures, lurking in the hidden hollows, of ancient beings whose presence was felt more than seen. These stories, though dismissed by many, held a certain weight in the context of this investigation. This background and experience provided an important counterpoint to my relatively naive view. The storm, a constant companion, became a character in its own right, a relentless force of nature that seemed to mirror the escalating unease and the growing sense of dread. The wind howled, the rain lashed down, and the darkness of the forest seemed to deepen, swallowing the beams of our flashlights. The familiar trails became labyrinthine, confusing and disorienting, as if the very forest itself was trying to hide something or someone from us. The weather mirrored the mood of the situation and amplified the growing fear. As we pressed deeper into the wilderness, the line between reality and legend blurred. The whispers of the wind, the rustling of leaves, the snap of a twig. Each sound seemed to carry a deeper significance, a sinister undercurrent that amplified the growing fear. The night pressed down on us, a suffocating blanket of darkness and dread. As we pressed deeper into the heart of the Smokies, the feeling of being watched intensified. It wasn't a rational fear. It was a primal instinct, a deep-seated sense of being hunted. The storm raged around us, but it was the silence between the thunderclaps that truly unnerved us. A silence punctuated only by the rhythmic drumming of rain and the unsettling crunch of leaves under our boots. We found more signs of the hiker's presence: a discarded backpack, a broken walking stick, and footprints that seemed unnatural. They were too large, too deep, too widely spaced for a human. Maggie, despite her skepticism, paled at the sight. She muttered something about local legends, about creatures that walked on all fours but were taller than a man, creatures that moved with impossible speed and silence, leaving behind no discernible tracks other than these. The forest itself seemed to conspire against us. The trails twisted and turned in unnatural ways, leading us in circles, obscuring our path. The trees, their branches gnarled and twisted, seemed to reach out, their shadows long and menacing. The darkness of the forest was not simply the absence of light. It was a tangible presence, a suffocating entity that pressed down on us. We heard it then, a low growl, deep and guttural, emanating from the depths of the forest. It was a sound that resonated in our bones, a primal fear that transcended logic and reason. The ground trembled slightly, and the trees around us swayed, as if bowing before some unseen power. The whispers of the wind carried with them a sinister undercurrent, a sense of lurking evil. Maggie, her professional demeanor replaced by a growing apprehension, suggested we retreat, to regroup and reassess the situation. But the growl repeated, closer now, more menacing, filled with a chilling intensity. The primal fear that had settled upon us transcended rational thought. We were trapped. We were being hunted. We decided to split up, a dangerous tactic, but one dictated by the urgent need to locate the missing hikers and the growing sense of our impending doom. Maggie took the high ground, while I followed the path toward a small, hidden ravine. The decision was not a tactical one. It was based on pure desperation. The forest itself felt more like a predator than anything else. As I descended into the ravine, the feeling of being watched intensified, a palpable sense of dread that paralyzed me. The darkness was absolute, the only light coming from my flickering flashlight. I could feel eyes on me, cold and malevolent, eyes that seemed to pierce the darkness. It was a primal fear, and I was completely alone. The ravine led to a small, secluded clearing, where the forest opened up, offering a brief respite from the oppressive claustrophobia of the dense woods. But the respite was short-lived. In the center of the clearing stood a massive ancient oak, its branches gnarled and twisted, its bark scarred and pitted with age. The tree exuded an unnatural aura, a palpable sense of ancient power and malevolence. It felt wrong. Around the base of the tree, I found more evidence of the hikers, scattered belongings, footprints that were definitively not human, and a disturbing amount of dark, viscous substance that clung to the rocks and vegetation. The substance was unlike anything I'd ever encountered before, thick, oily, and possessing a strangely metallic odor. It seemed to pulse with a faint, inner light. Maggie, having radioed me from her vantage point, reported finding similar traces near the summit of a nearby ridge, along with strange symbols carved into the rocks. The symbols were unlike anything she'd ever seen before, not resembling any known language or cultural markings. She also detected the same unsettling smell, the viscous dark substance clinging to rocks. This confirmed our earlier suspicion that something unusual and sinister was at play. The discovery of the symbols added a layer of complexity to the situation. They suggested a ritualistic aspect to the hiker's disappearance, hinting at something far beyond a simple animal attack or a random act of violence. The symbols pointed towards a ritual of some kind, a ritual possibly linked to the hiker's disappearance and the presence of unknown creatures. The creatures were more than simple animals. They were part of a larger, more sinister plan. A subplot emerged as we learned through radio contact with park headquarters that several other unexplained disappearances had been reported in the park over the past few months, all clustered in areas known for their unusual geological formations and proximity to ancient Native American burial grounds. The pattern suggested a connection, a sinister thread linking these seemingly disparate events. These were not isolated incidents. The urgency intensified. The storm showed no signs of abating, and our radio contact was becoming increasingly erratic. The feeling of isolation grew, a suffocating sense of being completely cut off from the rest of the world. We were alone, deep in the heart of the wilderness, facing an unknown threat, and the darkness was closing in. The time to act was rapidly decreasing. As I examined the ancient oak more closely, I noticed a subtle shift in the energy surrounding it. The air grew colder, heavier, charged with a palpable sense of dread. The whispers of the wind intensified, carrying with them a chilling undercurrent that sent shivers down my spine. I felt a presence, something ancient and powerful, something that was both terrifying and strangely alluring. Suddenly, the ground trembled, and a low growl echoed from the depths of the forest, closer now, more menacing than before. The trees around the clearing swayed violently, their branches thrashing like enraged serpents. The darkness seemed to deepen, becoming a tangible entity that pressed down on me, stealing my breath and constricting my chest. From the shadows of the ancient oak, it emerged. It was unlike anything I had ever seen before, unlike anything I could have ever imagined. It was bipedal, towering over me, its form vaguely humanoid, yet undeniably alien. Its skin was a patchwork of bark and flesh. Its eyes glowed with an unnatural light, and its movements were fluid and unerringly graceful. It was impossibly large, impossibly powerful. This was no ordinary animal. This was something else entirely. The creature let out a chilling shriek, a sound that tore through the very fabric of reality, a sound that resonated in my soul with a primal fear that transcended reason. The shriek echoed through the forest, a sound that spoke of ancient power and unimaginable horror. This was a turning point unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. Maggie, having witnessed the creature from her vantage point, radioed me, her voice strained with a mixture of terror and disbelief. She confirmed my sighting and added a horrifying detail. More creatures were emerging from the shadows, surrounding the ancient oak. They were moving with an unnatural speed and grace, their movements perfectly synchronized, as if orchestrated by a single unseen mind. The creatures weren't acting like normal animals. They were acting like a coordinated hunting party. This wasn't just an encounter with an unknown cryptid. This was a coordinated attack. We were surrounded, outnumbered, and hopelessly outmatched. Our rational fear became a primal, desperate struggle for survival. The creature's appearance and the arrival of more creatures signaled an immediate and urgent need to escape. The turning point was not simply the creature's appearance, but the realization that we were facing a coordinated, intelligent threat, a force that was far more powerful and sophisticated than we could have ever anticipated. The fight for survival had begun. The immediate consequence of the creature's appearance was a desperate, frantic fight for survival. Maggie and I, armed with only our flashlights and our wits, were hopelessly outmatched. The creatures moved with unnatural speed and agility, their movements perfectly synchronized, their attacks precise and deadly. Their strength and coordination were terrifying. My initial reaction was pure, unadulterated terror. The primal instinct to flee, to run as far and fast as possible, was overwhelming. But the creatures were too quick, too numerous. We were trapped. We were surrounded. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Maggie, despite her fear, reacted with remarkable courage and tactical skill. She used the terrain to her advantage, utilizing the cover of the trees and the darkness to slow the creatures down. Her years of experience as a deputy sheriff, her calm demeanor under pressure, proved invaluable in navigating this desperate situation. She was a constant support during this terrifying ordeal. The creatures' attacks were relentless and brutal. They seemed to know our every move, anticipating our actions, cutting off our escape routes. Their strength was superhuman, their coordination unsettling. They were not simply acting as wild animals. They were hunting us with a chilling efficiency. As we fought, a horrifying realization dawned on us. The creatures weren't simply attacking us, they were hurting us, driving us towards the ancient oak. The tree, we now realized, was not merely a witness to their attack. It was a focal point of their plan. It seemed to be the source of their power, their motivation, their energy. The creatures weren't simply hunting us. They were leading us towards a specific location. The consequences of our actions, or lack thereof, became terrifyingly clear. If we were captured, we would not only be killed, but we would also serve a purpose within this ritualistic hunt. The creatures were not simply predators. They were agents of a much larger, more sinister design, and the ancient oak was the key to their purpose. The fight became a desperate race against time, a frantic struggle to escape the creatures' clutches and avoid whatever awaited us at the ancient oak. The consequences of failure were unimaginable. The terror intensified. The situation was dire. Our desperate flight through the forest was a brutal test of endurance and resilience. The creatures were relentless, their pursuit unwavering. Maggie and I, fueled by adrenaline and a desperate will to survive, used every ounce of our strength and skill to evade them. Our knowledge of the terrain, honed over years of experience in the park, became our most valuable asset. The fight for survival was a test of strength, endurance, and resilience. As we ran, I began to notice patterns in the creatures' movements, subtle clues that hinted at their limitations and vulnerabilities. They seemed to be repelled by certain types of vegetation, particularly the thorny undergrowth that thrived in the park's less traveled areas. This observation became crucial in our fight for survival. Maggie, her knowledge of the local legends and folklore, added another crucial element to our strategy. She recalled an ancient Native American tale of a sacred spring hidden deep within the forest, a spring whose waters possessed purifying and protective properties. This tale, once dismissed as folklore, now offered a glimmer of hope, a potential escape route. Our flight became a calculated dance between our instincts and our knowledge, a desperate attempt to utilize the forest's resources to our advantage. We used the undergrowth to slow down the creatures, using its thorns and dense vegetation as a shield, forcing them to navigate slowly and cautiously through the tough terrain. I discovered that the creatures were particularly sensitive to loud, high-pitched sounds. Using this knowledge, I devised a plan, a desperate gamble to disorient and confuse the creatures, giving us an opportunity to reach the sacred spring. This required a careful balance between planning and utilizing whatever resources were available. The use of these sounds and the careful navigation through the dense forest proved invaluable. As we approached the sacred spring, the creatures' pursuit intensified, their growls growing louder, more menacing. But we pressed on, driven by a desperate will to survive. Our exhaustion was immense, our bodies aching, our minds frayed. But the will to survive fueled our every step. The fight for survival showed tremendous growth. Reaching the spring, we plunged our faces into the cool, clear water, washing away not only the mud and grime, but also the lingering sense of dread that had settled upon us. The water felt strangely powerful, invigorating, renewing, as if cleansing us of the creature's malevolent energy. We had found a temporary respite. The spring, as the legend foretold, offered us more than just refreshment. It gave us the strength, the courage, and the clarity of mind needed to formulate a plan to escape the creatures and confront the threat they posed to the park. Our growth wasn't only physical. It was a growth in understanding and strategy. The sacred spring offered more than just physical refreshment. It provided a crucial moment for reflection, planning, and a renewed sense of purpose. While the immediate danger had subsided, the larger threat remained. The creatures were not simply wild animals. They were agents of a larger, more sinister design, and we needed to uncover the truth behind their actions and the purpose of their ritualistic hunt. Maggie and I spent the next few hours analyzing our experience, piecing together the clues we had gathered. We reviewed the symbols found near the summit, comparing them to ancient Native American markings and local folklore. We studied the viscous substance, its properties and origin remaining a mystery. This detailed analysis was key to formulating a plan. We discovered a connection between the symbols and the location of several unexplained disappearances in the park over the past few months, all clustered around ancient burial grounds and geological formations known for their unusual energy signatures. These were not random events. They were part of a larger pattern, a sinister ritual that had been unfolding for some time. This ritual required a location with potent energy signatures. This suggested a higher power was orchestrating the events. Our investigation led us to an ancient cave system, known only through local legends, a system said to be connected to a powerful energy vortex beneath the mountain. We theorized that the cave system served as a conduit for the creature's power, a gateway to some ancient and malevolent entity. This theory suggested a location that was not only geographically significant, but also held profound power. We would have to confront this power. Preparing for the final confrontation required more than just weapons and tactical skills. We needed to understand the creature's motivations, their weaknesses, and the nature of the power they wielded. This required delving into ancient legends and folklore, seeking clues in the whispers of the wind and the shadows of the forest. The preparation required an extensive study of local folklore, legends, and ancient history. Maggie, drawing upon her years of experience in the park, contacted a local historian, Dr. Emily Carter, a specialist in Native American lore. Dr. Carter provided invaluable insights into the cave system, revealing a previously unknown ritual practice by an ancient civilization, a ritual designed to harness the power of the energy vortex. This ritual explained the pattern of disappearances and the coordinated nature of the creature's attack. Armed with this new knowledge, we prepared our strategy. Our goal was not simply to defeat the creatures. It was to disrupt the ritual, to sever the connection between them and the ancient entity that empowered them. This was not a simple fight for survival. It was a confrontation with a terrifying and ancient evil. The preparation involved an understanding of ancient lore and a strong connection to the land. The entrance to the ancient cave system was hidden deep within a dense thicket of vegetation, its location known only through local legends and Dr. Carter's research. The air around the entrance was heavy, charged with an unnatural energy that sent shivers down our spines. The darkness within seemed to beckon, promising both danger and revelation. Armed with our flashlights, our weapons, and our knowledge, Maggie and I entered the cave. The air inside was cold, damp, and thick with the smell of ancient earth, and something else, something unsettling, something alien. The cave walls were covered in strange symbols, similar to those we'd found near the summit. Symbols that pulsed with a faint inner light. The air throbbed with an ancient power. As we ventured deeper, we encountered the creatures. They were waiting for us, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light, their movements fluid and menacing. They were guarding something, protecting something, and we were standing in their way. The creatures were not merely agents of a larger force. They were the protectors of this ancient power. The ensuing battle was a chaotic blend of primal fear and desperate courage. We fought not simply for survival, but to disrupt the ritual that fueled the creature's power. Our flashlights served as both weapons and tools, momentarily disorienting the creatures, giving us brief windows of opportunity to fight back. We used every ounce of our strength, our knowledge of the creature's vulnerabilities, and our tactical skills to gain an advantage. This wasn't merely a fight for survival. It was a battle against an ancient evil. We discovered that the creatures were connected to the energy vortex at the heart of the cave system, their bodies serving as conduits for its power. Severing that connection was our only hope of stopping them. This required a precise and calculated strike, using our understanding of the ancient ritual and the properties of the energy vortex to disrupt the flow of energy. In a moment of desperate clarity, I realized that the viscous substance we'd found near the ancient oak was not merely a byproduct of the creature's activity. It was a key component of the ritual, an energy conductor that channeled the vortex's power. By destroying the substance, we could disrupt the flow of energy, severing the connection between the creatures and the ancient entity they served. This was our final, desperate gamble. Using our combined knowledge and skill, we managed to destroy the substance, causing a chain reaction that disrupted the flow of energy within the cave system. The cave shook violently, the ground trembling beneath our feet, the ancient symbols on the walls dimming and finally fading away. The creatures, their power source severed, let out a collective shriek of agony and dissolved into dust, leaving behind only an eerie silence. We had succeeded. The ritual had been disrupted, but the question remained: what or who had they been protecting? The entrance to the ancient cave system was hidden deep within a dense thicket of vegetation, its location known only through local legends and Dr. Carter's research. The air around the entrance was heavy, charged with an unnatural energy that sent shivers down our spines. The darkness within seemed to beckon, promising both danger and revelation. Armed with our flashlights, our weapons, and our knowledge, Maggie and I entered the cave. The air inside was cold, damp, and thick with the smell of ancient earth, and something else, something unsettling, something alien. The cave walls were covered in strange symbols, similar to those we'd found near the summit. Symbols that pulsed with a faint, inner light. The air throbbed with an ancient power. As we ventured deeper, we encountered the creatures. They were waiting for us, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light, their movements fluid and menacing. They were guarding something, protecting something, and we were standing in their way. The creatures were not merely agents of a larger force. They were the protectors of this ancient power. The ensuing battle was a chaotic blend of primal fear and desperate courage. We fought not simply for survival, but to disrupt the ritual that fueled the creature's power. Our flashlights served as both weapons and tools, momentarily disorienting the creatures, giving us brief windows of opportunity to fight back. We used every ounce of our strength, our knowledge of the creature's vulnerabilities, and our tactical skills to gain an advantage. This wasn't merely a fight for survival. It was a battle against an ancient evil. We discovered that the creatures were connected to the energy vortex at the heart of the cave system, their bodies serving as conduits for its power. Severing that connection was our only hope of stopping them. This required a precise and calculated strike, using our understanding of the ancient ritual and the properties of the energy vortex to disrupt the flow of energy. In a moment of desperate clarity, I realized that the viscous substance we'd found near the ancient oak was not merely a byproduct of the creature's activity. It was a key component of the ritual, an energy conductor that channeled the vortex's power. By destroying the substance, we could disrupt the flow of energy, severing the connection between the creatures and the ancient entity they served. This was our final, desperate gamble. Using our combined knowledge and skill, we managed to destroy the substance, causing a chain reaction that disrupted the flow of energy within the cave system. The cave shook violently, the ground trembling beneath our feet, the ancient symbols on the walls dimming and finally fading away. The creatures, their power source severed, let out a collective shriek of agony and dissolved into dust, leaving behind only an eerie silence. We had succeeded. The ritual had been disrupted, but the question remained: what or who had they been protecting? Years later, the Great Smoky Mountains National Park remains a place of both wonder and mystery. The ancient cave system is sealed, its entrance concealed once more, its secrets guarded by the silence of the forest. Maggie and I continue our work, forever changed by our encounter with the creatures and the hidden technology. The memory of that night, the chilling shriek of the creatures, the eerie glow of the ancient symbols, remains etched in our minds, a constant reminder of the mysteries that lie hidden beneath the surface of our world. The lingering mystery keeps the events fresh in our minds. That was my story, a terrifying encounter with the unknown in the heart of the Great Smoky Mountains. What did you think of the surprising twist? What are your theories about the ancient technology? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more true stories of the unexplained. Click the link below to watch my next video, where I'll discuss the latest findings on the mysterious energy signatures in the park. It's a story you won't want to miss. Subscribe now.